And talking about risk assets, definitely we see a big plunge there from that's with Bitcoin and most of the altcoins that we track. Right behind me, red on the screen. But there was also big conversations about what to expect for capital requirements from the Securities and Exchange Commission, and obviously crypto exchanges were also talked about there. Let's bring in Rume Ofi now to bring us up to speed. Hello, Rume. Great to have you.
Hello, Ladi. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so capital requirements at this point, and the big one for crypto exchanges in Nigeria, they need to have about 2 billion naira to operate right here. What's the reaction to that?
It's actually very, very shocking right about now that the SEC had to go this route. It's an industry actually that we've actually self-regulate over time, and unfortunately, this is not considered in its highest form, right? It seems the SEC is not sensitive to the exact situations that are happening in this country. Young people are the huge believers and players in this industry. And if we consider local content and indigenous builders here, I'm very sure that just capping 2 billion won't come to the mind of the SEC. I also think that the president in his campaign promise in the previous election said that they are going to use blockchain and cryptocurrencies to enable financial industry. I don't think this is exactly what he talked about, because this, in his purest form, is stifling innovation. This industry is supposed to be, in a way, to be built among indigenous people to see how far we can get the very best of the industry, not putting caps that we young people or builders cannot be. And what this
So what
means
do you
is
think?
that
What do you think is a good cap? What do you think is a good tag?
The industry is not a cash cow, laddie. It's an industry that you build. So I'm suggesting that they bring all of these young people and see if their innovation is making sense. Then when the revenue comes in, government can tax it somewhat. But entry barrier having to have some amount of money. It's in a way drawing some of these our best talents to our neighbors. Ghana has done something really nice. South Africa has actually approved more than 300 licenses from digital asset players, and I don't think they actually put all of this. But this is a selective access to the entire industry, and it stifles innovation in its entirety. So I'm urging the federal government now, not the SEC, because we have been in this for a very long time. Personally, as a digital asset advocate in this industry, have been speaking for no lesser than 10 years. And it's so embarrassing that it came out that 2 billion is what the SEC is capping for license, which
Right,
is entry
but
fee.
Rume, definitely, looking at capital requirements, most of the time is to help protect investors, because dealing with investor funds, especially with a market like with digital assets and cryptocurrency, we know that it's high risk. At this point, I guess that's the tag. Trying to protect investors. That's why they put in that cap.
I think you made a very valid point there, but this is the same mistake Gary Gensler made that actually stifled this innovation in the US before the US president actually came in. This is something that is more, you can't compare it with the traditional financial system. It is more of code. You can't fight the industry. You can't. It's a digital industry. For example, take an example like Bitcoin. It doesn't have office. It doesn't have a CEO and every other thing. So you study this. Then, if you want to preserve or guide the industry, you guide it through the technology. You don't guide it through some of this money. This money is so much that we've seen a situation whereby this traditional financial system, with all of those monies printed, they could not survive some of the headwinds that came up at some point. They actually went bust. But what you do to protect an industry of our kind is that you use the technology, you use players that understand it to better manage it. You understand? Because in this industry, code is law. But in the traditional financial industry, it is not same. So if you bring it, it's more like saying you are using the Howey test, like what is being done earlier in the US, to be able to benchmark the existence of what is happening in this industry. So better ways to do it is to bring people together that understand this well and see how we can prioritize our country first, because we are supposed to be leading. But right now, South Africa, Ghana, Kenya is leading because there's no barrier to entry. And our young people are going there. This is brain drain, and it's not good for this current administration.
All right. Well, we'll still, keep hearing from the SEC to to see if they actually review some of these capital requirements. Thank you so much, Rume Ofi, for helping us unpack this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ladi.